I'm stoked to have Samuel Stokes. Welcome.
Thank you. Good to be here.
So, how are you doing since the pandemic?
Coping, doing our best. Um, yeah, so I teach school, and so we had to adopt a lot of new procedures this year, in order to try to keep the virus from spreading, keep people from getting sick. And for the most part, I'd have to say it's been pretty successful. I was actually a little concerned at first whether it was going to be enough, or if the pandemic was going to march right over us regardless. But it seems like they're pretty safe. I mean, we're a lot stricter at school than they probably are at home or anywhere else. So they're probably safer there than anywhere else they might be.
Are you what are you a teacher?
Yes, I teach music, and I'm teaching the K through 12 schools primarily was what I do. And what I do is I teach what's called talented music. And a lot of people don't know what that is because even in the United States, it's not a universal thing.
What does that mean?
So what it means is they have throughout the United States, they have gifted programs that would be for academics, people that are high achievers in academics. They would be in a gifted academic program. And in most states, the gifted academic program would also cover teaching them extra about music. And
so they're like the geniuses towards music, are they?
Yeah, ideally. Speaking,
so
yeah.
I wouldn't get on this, would I? Really? I don't think I'd.
Well, I don't know. It all depends. You just have to audition. Yeah, you would probably get it. Yeah.
Would I? Oh,
I think so. Yeah.
I feel very blessed. So,
yeah.
Tell me about your musical background. Was it a family tradition, or was it just you went on it on your own?
Yeah, it wasn't exactly a family tradition. My dad didn't do any music at all really growing up. My mom did a little bit. She played the trumpet in high school, but she wasn't really very good at it. She did take a few piano lessons, but it wasn't a family tradition. My older sisters both were in the band, and they were first chair on their instruments. So I guess there must be a little talent through the family. And my brothers, two of my brothers, went through choir all through high school, and that was their thing. But I was the one I think that took to it the most. When I was about 7 years old, 7 or 8 or so, one of my friends from school could play the piano by ear. And I just found that absolutely fascinating, and I wanted to be able to play too. And so that's when I asked my parents to get me piano lessons.
Oh, wow.
And then, so I studied piano. And then when I got into middle school, which is 6th grade here, I started playing percussion in the band as well. And then I would just throughout the rest of my life, just to add little bits here and there. I learned to play the guitar a little bit. About when I was in 5th grade or so, I got my first guitar, and mostly self-taught, so I do mostly what I call campfire guitar playing. Play the chords and sing, and that's mostly what I do on the guitar.
Me playing the guitar. Oh yeah, me playing the guitar. Yeah. Are you any good at it? You reckon you could get better? Would you?
On the guitar?
Yeah. As good as your piano playing.
Yeah, it's nowhere near as good as. I mean, it's what I mean. My piano and percussion, they're pretty close as far as skill level, and then the guitar is a distant third instrument. But I have fun with it. It's just something that I like the fact I can carry it.
Do you find it a little difficult playing the guitar than the actual piano?
I do, in that the technique is different. Even though some things carry over, just I've never got real comfortable with doing anything real complicated with my left hand, and stopping the strings. Just to me, that would take a lot to really learn how to do it well. So I can find chords, but as far as really doing anything intricate with melody, I have to work pretty hard to learn something. So
yeah, because how I play a bit of guitar badly, but I play it flat down.
Yeah,
like that. I think there was a blues musician, Jeff Healey, blind. He used to play flat down like that. And
interesting.
I was so fascinated by that.
Uh-huh.
So I thought maybe I should try it that way, because I couldn't get my hands around to play it that way. So I thought this way would be a lot better. So
could be.
Mm-hmm. So maybe you should try it that way.
Maybe I should. Yeah.
So what's your biggest achievements? What are you really proud of in music so far?
Oh, that's a good question.
I know I'm really on it, and I just go, there you go.
Yeah, yeah. Boy, I don't know. There's a few things that I've been pretty proud of. I guess when I was at Louisiana State University, where I got my doctoral degree, I had to write a symphony as part of my dissertation project, and two movements of that were performed by the LSU Symphony, and that was a real proud moment. I really, even though writing symphonies has not been something I've continued to do a lot of, it was just really
No?
neat to see that happen. Another thing, a few years ago, I think it was 2016, the Louisiana Music Teachers Association commissioned me to write a piano piece, and I wrote an 8-minute piano work that I went and performed. So that's
wow.
another one. Yeah, yeah. There's a few different things, I guess.
You've also done, yeah, you've done 3 different full, is it full feature musicals? 3 of them?
Oh yeah, right. Yeah, I composed when I was in college. A friend of mine that was in the theater program was a playwright, and so we collaborated on a musical together. I think that was 2002, maybe.
Oh
It's
wow.
been so long I can't remember. And then later I collaborated with the person that was the chair of the theater department at my college, and we wrote. He had written a play based on the story of Dracula, of Count Dracula, and I put music to that, and we performed that. That was 2003.
Were you
More
dressed up as Dracula while playing?
No, I wasn't. But
Damn.
interestingly enough, like a couple of years before that, the same director that wrote the Dracula directed a show called Monsters and Me, which was a show for children, the college actors, but to play for children, and I was on stage in that one playing a keyboard, and they dressed me like the Phantom of the Opera. So I did get to do that.
Oh wow.
There's a photo of that somewhere on my website.
So, hit record. When did that come about? When did you start getting onto hit record, and why?
Well, I got on there in 2015 was when I started on Hit Record, and what happened was it was after Hit Record first got onto Netflix, and they had the first season of the show on there, and my wife came across it and was watching it, and she started it when I was out of the room, and I came in, and she said, "You got to come over and see this. This is Joseph Gordon-Levitt has this website," and I'm like, "What the kid from Third Rock?" You know. So,
He's like this. Please come on my. Please, I need you, musicians.
and I came in, and there was a animated feature that they created. It was called One Song, and I can't remember exactly what was going on, but somehow some creature was coming and it was stealing all the music from everybody, and so they had to band together and fight against this monster, you know, so they could get the music back. And I was just looking at it and just thinking, this is incredible. I mean, all these different people through a website collaborated and made this, you know, and I almost couldn't believe that was even possible, you know. And then by the end, they had a collaborative song called "You're Not the Only One," where Joe was sitting at the piano at the beginning and singing, and then little by little you see all these different people in their own homes playing a little instrumental parts to it and adding to it. And at the end of that, I was like, I could do that. You know, I could get my xylophone out right now and, you know, add some lines to that or some chords or something, you know, and do a video. And so I got onto the website after that and started trying to figure it out. So
yeah, because I saw you doing the xylophone for that sort of Bill and Ted audition. I thought it was really good. Yeah. How did that go? Because I thought, you know, because I auditioned as well, but obviously I didn't.
Yeah, I don't think I'm in it. I don't think you're in it either. It's hard to tell because there's so many at the end.
We are in it. It's just like
there are hundreds of them, and they're little tiny.
We're like there. I think you could see us definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I made it in it, but yeah, that was fun. I was hopeful on that because that looked like, you know, I loved Bill and Ted growing up, so I was hoping to get into that, but no, doesn't look like it. It was still fun to do though.
What was really fun? What's the funnest project you've done, like, for a hit record?
That's a good question. I would say it probably would have to be something that we did with the Beyond Good and Evil project. There were several of those that I thought were really fun. One that I got a good feature in that I really enjoyed was called Pecno, which is really wow. Did you hear that track?
Yeah, I did. It's
That's
great.
really wild and bizarre. but yeah, I got a lot of xylophone in that. I feel like with the Beyond Good and Evil project, I put xylophone on just about everything on here
Yeah, I see.
because
You
I
got a
happen
love
to
for
have it. You can see it
xylophone. I
behind me back
remember.
there. Um, but yeah, I do a lot with that because I happen to have it at my disposal. So that's one of the things that makes it real convenient. But I also love the instrument. I would do more marimba and vibraphone and glockenspiel and things like that if I had them. If I had them around, I can access them at school, but it's hard to get it
Just
in a
say
quiet enough
you need to
environment
borrow it for
to
school
record
project. Yeah.
it. So I have a few times used those other instruments, but I have to wait until nobody's in the band room and be able to try and kind of keep everybody from walking in while I'm recording. So it's real. I have to really coordinate it to be able to record on those other instruments.
They see
But that
you.
Pecno song,
Mm.
sorry, yeah, on that Pecno song, just there, and with Beyond Good and Evil, there's so much where they wanted different like East Asian sounds influences in it, and xylophone works really well for that. Even though the one I have obviously is a more of the Western European design, it's still it goes back to the folk traditions of China, and also here's some history lesson. This is an academic show, right?
Oh, go for it. Go for it. I need to learn anyway. I need to learn something.
So it's most likely that the xylophone has independent origins in different places, because you think about it, it's a pretty basic idea. You take wood and shave it to a certain size, and it's going to be resonant. So it's very likely that there were more than one origin of the xylophone. There's an East Asian origin, China particularly, and I think the other one was in Africa. So, but they were probably not influenced by each other. They probably separately came about.
Really?
But then, of course, the instrument that I have here, it's a modern chromatically tuned xylophone, so it works just like the
Would you
same
ever
notes
try
as a
and
piano. So,
get hold of any other xylophones? Maybe.
oh, you mean like some of the folk xylophones and things? That would be really interesting. I've seen a few at museums and stuff, but I haven't actually gotten to go and bang
Yeah, I
on
don't
them.
think you're allowed to go. Can I just
not
play
so
this?
much.
There's you
Yeah.
playing the music to Bill and Ted 4 on it.
Yeah.
So, your kids, are they into music?
To varying degrees, they are. They all enjoy listening to music. I haven't been able to get them to sit down long enough to really teach them. It's hard to teach your own children. That's what I hear from everybody. But I have tried to sit down. My 10-year-old Patrick, he has a really good musical ear, and he seems to have a lot of intuition. He'll get on the xylophone, and I've showed him how to play some simple songs, and he'll be able to mimic them pretty quickly. But he doesn't have a very good attention span, so getting him to sit down long enough to learn has been a little challenging. Now, my daughter Charlotte, who is how old? 7? It's hard to keep track. She has just started to show an interest in music, and she's actually been begging me to sit down with her at the piano. So last week we actually started going through some of my beginner books, and so hopefully she'll take.
Is there a project that you thought wouldn't do well, but it ended up being a success? Like a musical project, a composition?
That's an interesting question. Nothing's like jumping out in my mind. I know that there have been some things on Hit Record that maybe I was dubious about, but sometimes I'll just do it anyway. It's just be like, well, yeah, they're like, maybe the company itself is trying to push something, like, well, I don't know what it's going to be like, but I'll throw something in there, and then being surprised at the end result, because it's definitely the one of those the sum is greater. What is it? The whole is greater than the sum of its parts. I think that's how it goes. I find that to be very true about a lot of things that happen on Hit Record. Sometimes I just don't think the raw material's there, but then when somebody that's really good at producing things goes and finds the best bits of everything and puts it together, sometimes I'm really surprised, in a good way, as to what the outcome is.
I thought, have you ever tried different music on Hit Record? Just like that other song, Pick, is it Pick now? Have you ever
Techno,
tried,
yeah.
techno? Have you ever tried anything different? Not even music, just writing and, maybe singing a bit?
Yeah, yeah, there's been a lot of things, and I do sing. That's something, I sang a little bit in high school, and then I took some lessons in college and stuff like that. But I think I'm a decent singer, but not
Very
a
modest.
fantastic singer, right?
I'm a decent singer, I would say that, yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Wow.
decent in that. I think my strength is um, that I can, first of all, hit notes and get them correct and get
Yeah.
rhythms and things with a decent tone. So I know the music well enough to execute it. I think a lot of people have better trained voices as far as having better technique and things like that than I do. But at least I'm aware. Like if I hear it, I'm like, okay, I know I'm hitting the right notes. And with hit record, one of the things, it's not all about performance. Even if you're a performer, most of us are doing some level of composition at the same time. Because
Yeah.
when someone says, hey, I need you to add background vocals to this, it's usually not prescripted, exactly what you're supposed to be singing, what notes.
I
And
know.
so, you have to invent your own harmonies and stuff like that.
You
And
really have to rearrange everything to fit to that, don't you?
yeah, so really everybody is an arranger and a composer, when they're adding
But
things
I,
to
I
the
don't mean
songs.
music based, but just in general. Have you ever tried something different?
Yeah, well, this is still music based, but I tried doing a little rapping on the
Oh,
site, and
wow.
yeah, when the Logic project came around, obviously I did some things with percussion and xylophone, but I also tried to lay down a rap, and actually, one of the most recent musical I wrote was a version of A Christmas Carol. It's called Ebenezer, and that kind of was thinking in the
I,
in
I
the
was
vein of
I was listening
Hamilton.
to that.
Yeah,
I was like, who is this
yeah.
person?
And so yeah, that was kind of, now I enjoyed some of the old school rappers growing up, like MC Hammer and stuff like
Hmm.
that, when they were popular. But I'd never really tried to rap that much. So, but I decided to try that out a little bit, and just see
Why
see if I
not?
could
Give
do
it a
something
go.
with it. Yeah,
You got to try these things, or you're never gonna know, are you?
indeed.
So, are there any musical projects that you're gonna do in the future? Like musicals?
Yeah, I do want to actually at some point expand that Ebenezer musical, because right now it's a one act, so it's only maybe about 45 minutes and it's full length, and it's a little bit abridged form of the story. Um, I tried to keep most of the dialogue in it. I tried to just take that straight from Dickens, because I'm a big fan of the original story, and I've seen somewhere, I actually have it cataloged on my website. I've seen about 50 different versions of A Christmas Carol,
Oh, wow,
different TV and movie versions of it. So
that's cool.
I really love this story. It's very interesting to me, and I love the redemption arc in the story, because I like that. I think it's inspiring to see, that somebody that could be so awful and wicked, could change their ways and become a really good person. So I like that aspect of it.
That sounds very cool.
And what's neat about the 50 or so versions that I've seen of it is pretty much every one of them has something interesting about it, something that makes it unique that I appreciate. Um, Now, some of like, even when they're maybe not great adaptations, there's usually one thing in there like, wow, that was interesting what they did with this character, or how they staged this scene or that scene, or the ones with music, seeing how the music interacts. Because there's one it was kind of it
Hmm.
didn't really tell the story that well. I can't remember which one it was. I could figure it out, but it was about a 40 or 50 minute version of it that was made for TV, and it was like, it was kind of too short to really get the whole story very, very well presented. But the music on it was really nice, and I ended up looking up the composer and found that, there was someone that actually won an Emmy for something else. I can't remember who it was at the
Oh,
moment,
wow.
but I was like, okay, so yeah, my ear was hearing that was good music. It was kind of validating, to see that it was actually an award-winning composer that wrote it. So I was like, yeah, I thought there was something about that music, but it's not a real well-known one, because it just wasn't,
It
wasn't
was
a
it
huge
was me.
production.
I did it.
Yeah. Yeah, many years before you were born.
I played on the
Amazing.
xylophone. So, did you do Crate together? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
We all had small parts in the music side to it.
Hmm.
How did you feel when it won an Emmy from?
Yeah. First of all, I was really surprised because I didn't know we were up for an Emmy, and in fact, I didn't even know that web programming was eligible for an Emmy. So I was like, "Hey, that's a
Why
pleasant surprise.
not?
Good for us." Who knew?
So do you have it
So
up on
yeah.
the wall or like framed? Like,
I've been meaning to frame it. The problem is that being a 6 by 9, I have not found that size of frame in the store.
yeah,
I keep looking and I'm like,
that's a
where I cannot
conspiracy
find that
there.
strange, odd shape.
They don't want you to frame it.
Yeah,
That's the thing.
I guess so.
They don't have the perfect frame for it.
Yeah, find a lot of 8 by 11 frames and a lot of 5 by 7 frames, but that middle size is just not really all that
I wonder
common.
why they did that that way.
I don't know. Maybe they just had a bunch of 6 by 9 envelopes and they're like, oh, we got to use these envelopes
I'm
somehow.
just gonna make my own.
There
Decided to make my own. I
you
need to
go.
have a look at it each day and go, I
Yeah,
had something to do it, even though it was so small. So
yeah.
after the pandemic, what are you hopeful for? Like
Well, I'm
in music
hopeful
terms, at least.
in music terms, like
Yeah.
things that I want to work on after this.
Yeah, like projects, like maybe a
Yeah.
musical or just a your own personal project.
Yeah, I think it would be fun to write some more musicals. And actually, a lot of what I do really nowadays is I do a lot of arranging, really, and I'm building that up as a side business, which has actually worked out pretty well as far as income, having some extra income to pay for things.
Mhm.
Um, of course, we have a lot of bills, 4 children
Us
and
musicians need
everything.
the money,
Yeah,
people, please.
yeah. So, in addition to being a teacher, it's you got to have some side projects going on, and
Are the
I've
earnings of a teacher not that high in the US as a music teacher? I've heard
yeah, I don't know how it
I've heard mixed
compares.
stuff.
Yeah, I don't know how it compares to other countries, but no, I mean it's not super high. It's really not enough for me to in itself is really not enough for me to take care of a family with 4 children. It's not enough to spread around, and so it is really pretty vital for me to do other things. Like I teach adjunct at the college, so I teach music composition and arranging. So that's another side thing I do. Then I do the composing and arranging. I do some playing at churches. I was full time before the pandemic playing the organ, um, and now I'm part time because they had less contribution income coming into the church, so they had to kind of put me on the back burner on that one. But I still do get to play sometimes, like when the regular pianist is out, I'll sub in for the piano, and potentially other instruments. So
Will we see you playing Dracula on the church organ musical in the theater?
that would
All
be
dressed
a
up.
dream of mine. Yeah,
I will.
I hope
I'll
so.
go see it. I want to part in it as well.
Hmm. Yeah,
Well,
that would be fantastic. I'd be up for it.
yeah. Oh, I'd love to do that. Definitely. Would you come to the UK to do it though?
Yeah, if you can put me up in a nice hotel, give me some fancy amenities.
Well, when I become a
We'll see.
millionaire, okay, because us
So just keep
musicians
that in
do
mind.
that.
Yeah.
Okay. Have you got any songs on Spotify that we can mention?
I don't really have anything on Spotify other than stuff that was hit record collaborations.
That's what.
Most
Yeah.
of Yeah, most of what I have that you can to view would be on my YouTube channel. I have a lot of that stuff. It's my YouTube is a hodgepodge because I
Yeah.
have classical style pieces that I've written, and then I have pop songs, sort of rock, mostly rock or folk songs that I've written. And I have a lot of humorous songs also because
Oh,
for a
really?
few years there, I was writing a lot of just musical humor. Actually, my dissertation was on musical humor, and had a whole chapter on Weird Al Yankovic, kind of just going from
Oh,
music theory analysis,
wow.
on what it was that makes the music funny. What I was trying to come up with was I talked a little bit about the text of the music, but that was kind of I didn't want to talk about why the words were funny. I want to talk about what in the music is do people hear as funny, because there's certain songs that you just hear the music,
Hmm.
and something's funny about the music, and that other than what the song is about, the words. Um, and I wanted to try to key in on what those things were, and so that's kind of what I explored with that dissertation. There's
Is
lots
there
more room for other people to research that, but I kind of at least touched on some different things.
is there a favorite song you've got? Uh,
Oh, of songs that I've written, oh, that's a good question. I have to think about that. So I'll give you a few different options because I say I have such a variety of genres that I write in. I'm pretty proud as far as kind of the classical side. I wrote one that was called "The Tide Rises, the Tide Falls," which is based on a Longfellow poem, and I was really proud of how that turned out. I have a recording somewhere on YouTube of my friend Jeff Unick, who's now a theory professor in Georgia, singing that one. So that one's nice. As far as the humorous songs, I have one that I like. It's kind of you have to be in the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy fandom to really get it, but it's called Hoopy Frood, and
yeah.
it's about Zaphod Beeblebrox, from the Hitchhiker's Guide stories, and that one was played on the Dr. Demento show a couple times, and
What did you think
so
about
that's
the
pretty
film
fun.
that they made of the Hitchhiker?
The one from 2000, whatever it
Yeah.
was. It had its moments, with the Hitchhiker's Guide fandom. There's so many different versions of every story, and I pretty much experienced all of them at some point. Because I mean, originally it was a radio show, and then
Hmm.
it was put into novel form. Um, and then there's also a release. They did another radio show type release on LP, which is a different performance of the same story.
They did a
And some of
TV.
the
See,
Yeah, and then did that too. Yeah, um, and then yeah, they of course the new movie. So there's a bunch of different renditions of it, and the stories are not all exactly the same, and the performances are different. And of course, that TV show has just such campy effects with the Zaphod having the paper mache head or whatever it is.
I wonder.
Uh,
I want to know if there was a song you did that you thought, "Oh, this is going to be really damn good. I put so much effort in it, and it didn't get the reaction you wanted."
Uh, yeah, I would say that happens quite a bit, actually. That's
Wow.
probably happened with about 90% of the things I've written, and I'm like, wow, it's like I either did something new or something turned out even better than I thought it would, and I'm like, I really, like what I've accomplished here, and maybe just gets minimal, views or
And then what
what.
does good? Rubber Ducky. I've heard that song.
Yeah.
That's a really catchy song. I kept playing. I
Mhm.
kept singing it. Because you do
Yeah.
quite a few videos I see on Facebook, and are there any
Yeah, and
favorites you like? Or you just
yeah, it's interesting. Because I just recently really started doing it because I'm a bit camera shy, really, or always tended to be camera shy. So seeing myself on video has always been kind of difficult. But
I'm
when
like it as
the
well. I'm just like
yeah,
going with the flow at the moment.
so when the shutdown, it was actually today is March 13th. It was a year ago today in Louisiana that the government announced that we were shutting down the schools. So interestingly enough, this is the anniversary of that day. Um, and
I don't even know if I should say happy anniversary.
yeah, it's something.
Yeah.
But at that point, I was kind of trying to find things to do and trying to find ways to keep myself occupied. And I thought it would be nice to start doing some videos, just kind of try to lift everyone's spirits a little bit, including my own, to start making little music videos like that. And at first, I was doing them, I think, just about every day for the first month or so. And then, now it's a bit more intermittent, um, but I guess it's nice, because even for me, it was a learning experience,
Hmm.
kind of getting more comfortable playing things on camera and not worrying quite so much if it's absolutely perfect. Just, it's just for
Just go
fun.
with the
It's just,
flow, I say. What? Just record something, even if it's bad. Just see how it
mm,
goes. Yeah. You
yeah.
were rapping at one point. You shouldn't be afraid of anything.
That's true. Yeah. Where else, how much more embarrassing could it get?
No, it was good. It was good rapping. I like it. You're in the
Yeah.
dark and
Thank
like
you.
going, yeah, man.
Yeah, and that's another thing. Like, before hit record, I don't know that I would have been very confident in like shooting my own video like that. I've learned a lot from being parts of other people's videos and seeing how they cut them and put them together. And then so when I was putting together that, and it's not super complicated, but I was like, oh, get some close-ups of me of my fingers on the piano for a few of the little instrumental interludes. I took, I think, a couple different angles of me singing it and rapping it, and then several different things of that candle. There's just a candle, like little panning across the candle and zooming into the candle, and then just cutting them together, and
Was that
I
all
feel
your
like
idea?
Hit Record had to do that. Yeah, putting together that video. Yeah, it was all me. Yeah,
You're like, that's
just
all
came
me.
up with
That
those
was all
ideas.
me.
Yeah.
You could be just like that. Have
Yeah.
you ever shown
But
the kids at school your stuff, like
yeah,
rapping?
a little bit. Yeah, the rapping thing. We actually, I help with the drama club as well at one of the schools that I teach at, and so at the middle school, we actually we didn't do the full thing, but we did a shortened version of the Ebenezer show here, and so I had some of the kids rap some of the different songs, play the different characters. Yeah, we just shortened it down a little bit because it was part of a longer showcase with some other acts in it. So
And you cut down
yeah,
the
we had
curse
fun with it.
words as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't I don't think I had any curse word. There might have been one. There
Yeah.
might actually I may not have cut it out. I think there's something about
What?
oh yeah, damnation in there, which is not the way I used it was not technically a curse. But yeah, that might have been kind of on the edge of
That's the Ned
the moral.
Flanders version
Yeah,
of like, that. That's
yeah.
allowed to a point.
Yeah, because you could get away because of the context.
Yeah.
You could justify it. So, and I didn't, it was one of those things I didn't ask permission. I was just like, if somebody has a problem with it, then I'll just, we'll worry about that later. But I didn't really suspect it would be, but you never know. Just takes one person to cause a fuss. So,
So we're heading into the end of hopefully the pandemic.
yeah, I hope so.
So how do you feel about that? Because you'll be getting, when do you get your vaccines, or have you had them? Because you
I
get them quicker
actually
than we do.
I was able to get mine already. So, yeah,
Have you had
I was
both?
fortunate. I did. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Because
yeah. We teachers, we're on at least in Louisiana, and it's interesting to see on Facebook because every state seems to be handling it differently. But here in Louisiana, we had different priorities. There was like tier one, tier two, and tier three,
yeah,
and teachers were included in the second part of tier one. So we were tier one B, but I was actually able to get it before even they started technically opening it to 1B because the hospital here in town was actually really smart the way that they did it because at the end of the day, if they had some that weren't being administered, they were just going to have to throw them away because they're no good after they've been opened and sitting out all day.
yeah.
And so what they did is they started calling the schools at the end of the day and said, "Do you have anybody that can come over right now?" And so I happened to be one of the first
Um,
people to be able to get it because I was done for the day and
hmm.
was able to run over there and get it right after school.
What do they do with the kids there? Do they test them before they go into school?
We do a temperature check. Yeah, at the
Okay.
door we have a thermal camera action. We can view them coming in on an iPad, and it'll show what the temperature is on their face or on their forehead. I'm not sure exactly how it works. It has something to do with reading the infrared, and it's able to give you an approximate figure
Wh-
of what their temperature is.
When the pandemic got quite bad, you were all doing remote work, or was it just nothing until you could go back?
Yeah, at the beginning of it, about a year ago when they started, they just sent us all home, and we were trying to teach remotely, which it was
Does it work?
um, um, uh, the immediate when we first started doing it, it was mixed results for sure. It had a lot to do with how responsible the child was, and also how much their parents were making sure that they were doing it, and and also the fact that for a lot of us, the technology was new. I'm pretty decent with using technology, but a lot of the teachers, it was not something that they were used to using very much. Of course, like I said before, I had to learn how to use a MacBook since I'm you know, was a native Windows user essentially.
They love
Uh,
the Macs in the US, don't they? So it's Macs.
yeah, some people. Yeah, as far as desktop computers, it still seems to be Windows dominant. But
Do
as
they
far as
crash
other
less, do you
things,
reckon, the Macs than the Windows?
um, I'm not sure. I would say my MacBook has not really had any problems crashing, but it's gotten limited use and only over the last year. So who knows? As it gets older, it might have more problems. I don't know.
I think kids are more adapt to it now with technology
Yeah, the kids.
than the parents.
Yeah, I was say the kids at school, they seem to be adapting to things pretty well. I'm sure that there's some mental fatigue even among the children, but it seems like with all the changes that they're rolling with them pretty well. There's some pushback because they want to be able to socialize and be less than 6 feet from their friends and stuff like that. So
Mhm.
we have to get on to them every once in a while, um, but I feel like they've adapted pretty well.
Excellent. And
Yeah.
with the vaccine, how did you feel when you first had it? Did you have any effects?
The first dose, I had the Pfizer vaccine, and the first dose, I just had a little bit of a sore arm, which is kind
That's
of
what they said,
similar
isn't
to
it?
like when I get a flu, when I get a yearly flu shot, and that's it. About felt like that. It was really not any concern. Now the second one, that affected me pretty strongly. I was kind of
I've
miserable
heard
for a
that.
few days. I
Yeah.
was still able to go to work, but I was just tired and just achy and just wanting to rest most of the time. It didn't affect some of my colleagues nearly as much. I think maybe I was just more sensitive. So
They're like, he's so bad he's not playing the xylophone or doing rapping. Must be really bad
yeah,
today.
something must be wrong.
But he's still wearing the Dracula suit. So, to all you vaccine people, anti-vaccine, it does work, and
Mm,
it depends on the person as
yeah.
well. Because I've only had one of the vaccines. It's the Oxford one, so I'm still
Hmm.
waiting on the second one, and that's the one that sort of gets you a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm a bit
That's what I
wary. I'm
hear
a bit
generally.
wary, but
Hmm.
you gotta have it.
Yeah. Yeah,
Definitely.
it's sacrificing a few days of comfort, versus making sure it's not gonna kill you. It's important.
I know.
A lot of
So,
people have died, so
so we are at the end of our time.
okay.
Is there anything else you want to add? Like any other music or life changes?
Um, I don't think so.
No?
Yeah, I
Have we
mean,
talked about everything now?
I'm sure there's more we could talk about. Maybe another episode. May need a whole
Yeah.
other episode or a
What
series.
do you prefer, tea or coffee?
um, I've drank a lot more coffee than I have tea. I do like teas as well, but as far as in
I've
the
heard
morning,
you
I'll have a
like
cup of
they
coffee.
only have sweet tea or something
Yeah.
over there.
Now they do have other teas here, but as far as restaurants and stuff, you're more likely to get sweet teas. Um, yeah, I guess some restaurants also offer unsweet, but I think that's just for you know caloric intake reasons. It's not. I think it's the same
Get
thing, but it's
yourself some
about
PG
sugar.
tips. PG tips. There you go.
Yeah, I have to work on
But no sugar because it doesn't work with sugar, okay?
that.
Okay. So that's the end of our show, I'm afraid.
All right.
But
Well,
it was
it's
very
been a
nice
pleasure.
talking to you. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's nice chatting with you for real
Nice chatting.
over
All
Zoom.
right.
Yeah.
Definitely. We'll have to
Yeah.
do it again and talk more about food, which we never talked about. Because I heard there's
Yeah,
good food over
there's
there, especially
so
the
much we could talk
the
about. Yeah.
steak, the barbecues over there.
Yeah. Have you ever
Is it
had have you ever had crawfish?
crawfish now?
Yeah, or crayfish, they call them different things, or crawdads. Where I come from in Missouri, we call them crawdads. Do you know what I'm talking about? Do you know what they are?
Some sort of
You may not.
sea creature?
Yeah, they're actually kind of um, they don't. I don't think they live in the sea exactly, but like in marshy areas, there's a lot of wet wet ground, which there's a lot of in Louisiana. But they're also called mud bugs. That's another thing they call them. They actually look like
Can you
little
imagine
bugs.
getting one of them
Yeah,
at the restaurant?
yeah,
Ooh,
you can get a whole
I
plate
love
of
that
them.
bug.
Yeah,
Please give me one of
you
those
get
mud
them
bugs.
by whole plates, or I'll just send you some pictures because maybe you can edit that into the
Yeah, mud bugs.
the video at the end.
Sam loves mud bugs.
Yeah, but yeah, what they'll do is that they actually boil all these bug things like in a big giant pot, and they'll empty that whole pot onto a table. You kind of cover a table with tablecloth, and you'll empty it an entire table covered with those things. And you can have other things like potatoes and corn and stuff in the boil as well. And people will just sit at the table and then just crack them open, eat
You're
the meat
making me
out of them,
sound
and
good.
yeah.
You made mud bugs sound good. You should be a salesman.
Yeah, and of course they usually will put a lot of like Cajun spice and stuff in it, so it's an interesting treat, but
This is
it's
why we
also a
don't talk
culture
about
shock.
food.
It's a culture shock to people that don't have any clue of what I'm talking about.
What's
But
the weirdest food you've ever had?
well, that one the mud bug thing is it's pretty crazy. I'm trying to think anything really crazier than that. I have done the Blazing Wings challenge at Buffalo Wild Wings. Do they have that over in Britain, or is that just America? Yeah, there's a place called Buffalo Wild Wings. It's a real popular restaurant chain in America, and they have what's called a blazing wing, and it's essentially it's the hottest hot sauce that they have, um, and they have a challenge where you have to eat 12 in under 6 minutes to win the challenge.
What?
12 of these blazing hot wings, and people, people were impressed that I was able to do that. But the real trick is that once you've eaten the first one, your mouth is numb, so you don't really know the rest. The rest of them you don't really feel so much. So it's
Basically, you
just a
just
matter
do
of
this.
stuffing a lot of food. Yeah.
This
Yeah,
is
it's
easy.
just a matter of stuffing that much food in your face.
Hey,
It's
I may get an ulcer, but I'm gonna win this
yeah.
challenge.
Yeah, and I don't do it anymore. I was in my late 20s when I did that, and I think I did it one other time when I was kind of in my early 30s. But now
Kids, get the
my
toilet
stomach,
ready.
yeah, my stomach just can't handle that anymore. I used to eat really spicy foods, and now I kind of
I love my spicy
medium
food.
spicy. I have to go medium spicy now because it just bothers my stomach too much.
It's weak, man. You gotta go high, burning, sizzling.
Yeah,
Have you
we
ever
only
had?
live so long, right?
Have you ever had good Mexican food? Good
Oh yeah.
Mexican food?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can get some. Yeah, it's not a whole lot of great Mexican food around here, but I've been to Texas many times, and been able to.
Oh no,
Um,
Mex-Tex. No.
yeah, and actually, my ex sister-in-law was Mexican, and she made us some home cooking several times, so had that experience too.
What did she make?
She made tamales a lot, but she made other things too, like fried plantains and other things that are
Were they
common.
the meat ones or because there's the sweet ones as well you can have?
The meat ones is what I usually would have. Yeah.
Yeah, I made a load of them with the family.
Uh huh.
They were like the sweet ones and the
Yeah, they're
meat ones,
good.
but that's already they are tasty,
Hmm.
but they do dangers to your stomach most of this.
They could, yeah, yeah. Just depends.
Now I'm hungry. Thanks. That's why we didn't talk
Yeah,
about food.
me too.
You know what? I've had this cracker here, and I was gonna have it, but then it would have been rude just me having it. So,
That's all right. No offense.
all right. Well, now we have come to the end of the show. I'm sorry, but we will
That's all
do
right.
this again and see
Yeah, we
where we
should.
are in the future. Because after the pandemic, we'll be doing a lot more. But for
Sounds
now,
good.
I shall say goodbye and thanks for coming on the show.
Goodbye. Thanks for having me.
Goodbye.